Welcome to the Psych 101 podcast. I'm your host, Luke Maxwell, and I'm beyond thrilled today to have my guest, Dennis Simsek. Dennis also goes by the name of Anxiety Guy on his podcast and social media channels. He's a CBT and NLP master practitioner and has created lasting change in people suffering from anxiety disorders. His podcast has been downloaded over 1 million times. He's held the #1 ranking in health category on iTunes for 12 weeks in 2017, and his mental health blog has been named the top 10 best blogs for 2017 on Healthline and FeedSpot. What an introduction. Let's meet this man, Dennis. I'm so happy to have you on the show.
Hey, Luke. Good to hear from you, man. That's some serious energy, man. I love it. I love it so much. And you know what? You're going in the right direction, buddy. I love it. But great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here too. So you've got to a big place. You have over 1 million downloads. Like that's a big accomplishment. But take us back. How did you get to this point? What started it? What's the moment that kind of got you started on this journey?
As far as podcasting specifically, it was really interesting because there was a time in my life, like everybody else, where they begin to contemplate, what direction their lives are going. There was a long time there where I was stuck in a job. I was working for someone that I really enjoy working for. Deep down, ever since I was a kid, I had this entrepreneurial kind of approach to life. And so, there I was contemplating my life, walking in the mall. And this was when I had given up on the Anxiety Guy for about a year after blogging and all that sort of stuff and not doing it right. And there I was in the mall, and this lady comes in behind me and says, "Excuse me, are you the Anxiety Guy?" And funny enough, that entire day, I was going back and forth with about 10 ideas. I wanted to help people. Mm-hmm. I wanted to, help them with anxiety, but as well, business side of things and sporty sides of things. So I had many different directions I could have gone. So this lady said, "Are you the Anxiety Guy?" I said, "Well, yeah, I'm the Anxiety Guy." And this was completely out of the blue. And so she goes, "Well, you helped me so much through your resources and your program and such." And I was just floored. And I said, "My God, are you telling me the truth?" She said, "Oh my God, you made a huge difference in my life." So I saw that as a sign for me to continue to do what I was passionate about. And that was to help people with GAD, health, anxiety, and panic, and to stay in that lane, because a lot of people were filling people with all sorts of garbage. There was all sorts of information out there that was based around coping and managing the problem, and therefore I had a completely different approach. So I said, you know what? How am I going to reach the most people in the shortest amount of time? And since podcasting is so new still, we're just getting into it. We're just scratching the surface. Yep. And since we can reach a lot of people, I said, you know what? Somehow, to be honest with you, I really don't know exactly how podcasting came about, but I had the idea. And people said, you're a radio kind of guy. You got a nice voice. I said, let's try it. And, just like you're doing fantastic stuff. So it just took off from there. But it all started with a story like that. And I saw it as a sign from the universe and God that said, this is what you need to do. And how are we going to reach the most people? Let's go into podcasting because it's so new.
Wow. And then so that I find that amazing. I mean, being recognized in public is not a commonplace. It's not a thing that happens unless you actually make an impact, unless you actually do something. So that just shows me that you were making an impact even back then before you really started this journey. What started you to get into mental health specifically? What was your motivation behind that?
My motivation behind it was people were given such little options as far as what they could do with their mental health challenges and their anxiety and panic, specifically even depression. The amount of options that people have are very limited. We have, and I'm not shutting down the first line of treatments at all, but my biggest thing was, how can I begin to help people see things clearly, a bit clearer, and begin to take care of some of the anchors that are holding them back? Because you'll notice that a lot of people with health anxiety, they will shoot for achieving certain things, but they'll never really take care of the underlying unconscious factors that are in fact the main contributors to their anxiety or their mental health challenges. They're always trying to meditate or do the yoga or, be positive or all that sort of stuff. And so what got me into it was I said, people need someone out there that they can relate to, first of all, because I've been through it and I overcame it. Relating is a huge part of the whole situation. And then comes down to, if someone else can do something, so can I. But, I wanted to give people options. I wanted to show them that there is multiple different ways they can go about these challenges, and they don't have to stick to the status quo. They don't have to go in line with everybody else. In fact, if you look at the mental health numbers these days, it's rising uncontrollably. It's an epidemic right now. And people, I believe deep down that people are being brainwashed in a lot of ways, and they're being manipulated so that the system can continue in a lot of ways. So, in a big way, I'm against the system, but I am for the system as well. There's a time and place for everything. But I started this because I said, here's what I went through, and here's what I know, and let's use this to help more people. But it all started with inspiring people and trying to give them more options, really.
Yep, seeing a need. And the best, I always see the best, whether it's a business, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's a project or just something someone's passionate about, the best ones always come about because of a need. There's a need out there, you see it, and you decide you have to be the one to step up and do it.
Absolutely.
And there's so many needs out there. There's so many needs. There's so many different people. And that's why every one of you listening right now, there's a need that you can fill in the world, big or small. There's a need that you can fill, and you can create a huge positive action because of it. So you got into this, you're doing this, and it's going well. But I find it curious to see that you didn't go into counseling per se, mainly because I'm not taking that route either. I prefer to go along with what I'm doing, with speaking, with more of a coaching style, which I see you're doing as well. And I find it very interesting. So what made you decide to not go into counseling, but to go into CBT and NLP, and explain to us what CBT and NLP are?
It's super funny that you say that. I was actually thinking about that a couple days ago, and someone asked me the exact same question. So, I was at a crossroads at around 31, 32 years old. I had overcome this debilitating cycle, this struggle. It was brutal. I was minutes away from taking my life. And then I said, you know what, I cannot do this. So my son, who was just born, was going to live without a dad. So I didn't want that kind of weight on his shoulders. So that was the big reason why I didn't follow through with that idea. But more than anything, counseling, when I see counseling, I see managing. When I see counseling, I see coping. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be ways where we can help people at a quicker speed. When we look at counseling, when we look at therapy, although I'm not bashing therapy, it works for a ton of people, but it also doesn't work for a lot of people. But for me, seeing the statistics that said 7 years of counseling on average gets you, and this is generous, gets you 25% success. Okay, so you got to talk about your stuff, and you're talking for 7 years, and you're going to get 25% out of it. And when I looked at those statistics, I said, no, this isn't for me. So what's the stuff that people don't know about? There's got to be some secrets here. There's got to be some stuff to be able to, recondition people at a quicker speed, at a deeper level. So that's where NLP and CBT came. I did a lot of research on this. I looked at a lot of studies. I looked at a lot of percentages. And the success was almost, I work with a lot of people today where they struggle for years and years and years. And within a couple of days, they can go from changing the perception based around the thing that's causing them the most problems. And they can begin to mold the way they see that. And to me, that was really interesting to take something and to say, you know what, this manifested based on a memory, the first time. Someone who suffers from anxiety, a lot of times, they have the first panic attack. What if I go back in time, which NLP teaches? Goes back in time and reframe the whole experience. What's a panic attack? Well, at the moment, I'm seeing it as a life-threatening thing, and I'm scared it's going to happen again. Or I can see that panic attack as a sign that my body and my system is in perfect working order. I could see that as a misinterpretation made by my mind that caused me to feel that way. All of a sudden, when I attach different meanings to what happened, I can move forward with my life with less fear of it happening again. So another way that, with anxiety, health anxiety or hypochondria, for instance, people are scared of dying, fear of death. When you take the fear of death, for me, for many, many years, I took that and I said, well, what's another way I can look at this? I'm scared to death. I'm not dealing with the symptom of the death. So how can I begin to change? I started to do research around the cycle of life, things, and next thing, it wasn't as scary. So those were he does is it works on changing your thought patterns, restructuring your thought patterns, as well as your behaviors. Okay, so thoughts, behaviors, it shows you why you're doing the things that you're doing, for what reasons. And NLP touches more on the unconscious mind, where it goes into your memory bank and your storage system and begins to take care of things at a deeper level. But they're both beautiful problem-solving methods that people can use to eliminate anxiety, not cope, but eliminate it out of their lives, and to begin to change the perception over the things that are causing them trouble right now.
Very interesting. Wow. I have actually not heard. I mean, I know I've heard of CBT, I've heard of NLP, but I haven't done that much research into them. And now I'm definitely going to, because I feel that I'm doing some of this stuff subconsciously, just from what I've learned from interacting with people. And I'm really curious to see this. And also, I love that you were self-taught. A lot of people ask me, well, do you have a psychology degree? Do you go to school? I'm like, no, I researched everything I could find, and then I lived it. I lived it, and then I learned from people who have lived it. People,
there's the power.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather do that, get real life experience, than go to school and not be able to actually help somebody. Which I'm not saying that you can't if you go to school.
Yeah.
But I know me and school do not mix, and I prefer to learn on the job, in just have my hands in the dirt, doing it.
What's interesting is that I believe, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I believe in 5 to 10 years, you're going to find a huge shift in the way people approach trying to get rid of their problems and their challenges. They're going to go from people that have not experienced the stuff that they experienced, and the people that are more book fed. We're talking about the counseling area, which is totally fine, works for a lot of people, but you're going to find them going from that to going towards more life coaching, and going towards a life coach that's been in their shoes, that can relate to it, right? That can really take care of things and be able to create rapport with someone at a deeper level. And that's something that people have difficulty with counseling.
That is interesting. I haven't thought about the way it'll go. What are your, and I want to get your thoughts on this, because obviously it works. Like, I am able to help people. You're able to help people because we have that experience. We've learned on our own. We've learned from mistakes, trial and error, and from our successes. What are your thoughts on that becoming the norm? Do you think that will cause a good in the world because you have more people, more life experience, but less actual training? Because that's the only thing that, when I think about it, is that's why I make sure when people tell me that they want to help people, when people tell me, they want to go in the mental field, or that they are helping their friends, I say, okay, you have life experience, good. But do you have a foundation also to back that up, to make sure you're not giving bad advice, to make sure that you're not causing harm? Of course, we can't control for every situation. But it's like counselors, they spend a lot of years in school to learn everything they can in order not to make mistakes and learn the best practices and ways of doing things.
Totally.
What are your?
I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends around the counseling area. I've got a lot of friends around the NLP world and the CBT world and the hypnosis world. And we always discuss these sorts of things. And we're always trying to help each other be better at what we do to help more people. But with when we're talking about the counseling realm versus the NLP realm versus the hypnosis realm, what we're really talking about is a world right now where people want a solution to their problem, and they don't really care how they get it. Okay, they just, I'm suffering. Just help me get through this. The problem with the unconscious mind is that it doesn't understand words. Okay, that's a problem. Because in order for you to create a change, the unconscious mind understands feelings. Okay, so when you begin to get truly emotional and you get completely dissatisfied in your condition and you got a vision for your life and that sort of stuff, which creates this emotion within you, all of a sudden your nervous system goes, okay, well, I guess he wants to change, and let's look further into this. Let's find the answers. So it understands emotions and it understands images. NLP and hypnosis works a lot with images, right? Where you close your eyes, you go into that mental state, and you create that visualization of what you want and reframing your past experiences. And it also, when we're talking about the way that the best way for someone to create this change, to me, the best way to create it is to basically, like I mentioned earlier, is to go back in time but not talk about what happened so much, but to more so reframe it or edit the movie on what happened. Okay, to notice things you didn't notice from the past, to take a lesson from what happened rather than to place blame on someone or something or you for what happened, because people live with that stuff for the rest of their lives. But if I can go back and I can just think about the experience, for example, and to say, you know what, I really didn't see things from that person's point of view, or I really didn't notice things such as the scent in that room, or I really didn't, recognize how I was overreacting or whatever it was. When I go back and I edit the movie of what happened, you can begin to alter your memories. And every time your unconscious mind goes back in time and says, okay, what happened the first time we were stuck in the same environment or the situation, what it's going to find is something different. It was a pleasant experience. It was a learning experience. Interesting. And therefore, the anxiety begins to lessen.
Wow. I'm absorbing this right now. And I'm just like, because I think like, I wonder, because I'm a very, visual person. And like, I'm imagining how different my therapy would be, because I had a great therapist. We got along great. He really helped me through lots of my stuff, and I was seeing him for about 6 months. And then he couldn't help me anymore, but just because of how much I had improved. And I'm just thinking, wow, this could actually be really powerful. Like even now in my life, because everyone has problems. We all go through bad times. We all have stuff. And I'm just thinking, wow, I could really apply this to my life just to help me, whenever, through anything.
Totally.
This is
absolutely.
I'm going to I'm going to research this more. I am going to look at this more. We could go on forever talking about this, because right now I'm fascinated. But I know many of my listeners don't share my really intense love for psychology. So I want to conclude this with, what is one thing that our listeners can do right now to improve their mental health?
Honestly, I would say find an answer that is based around a couple of components, because hypnosis creates the energetic component, the energetic field where you're talking and you're imagining things, you're visualizing things. That's the energetic field. Counseling therapy is based around the mental field. So cognitive, restructuring, behavioral. And then there's other methods that encompass physiology and such. What I would say to people that want to better their mental health is to start with the most important way that we create communication with other people and the universe itself, and that is through your physiology. I would say start with not your thought patterns, but start with being able to place yourself in an emotional state through your physiology that you want. For example, if I push my shoulders back and my chin back for a minimum of 2 minutes, it's been proven that I relax 20 to 40% more if I just hold that pose. Okay? Imagine going about your day just trying to fix your physiology every time you slump. If I'm in a certain physiology, my body looks a certain way, even if I get a negative thought, I'm going to be able to handle that negative thought a lot differently, because this physiology reminds me of success. It reminds me of a time where I was very successful and proud of myself. Whereas if you see people on the computer all the time, they're always hunched over. When they get a negative thought, then they begin to label it. They begin to internalize that. All right. So I would say start with fixing your body throughout the day. Every time you slump, pick yourself up. Second thing is begin to ask yourself the question of, what's fun about this? What's fun about this takes you away from catastrophic thinking, okay, thinking about the future, and it brings you back to the present moment. Right now, what's fun about this? Me and Luke, we're kicking it off. We're in this position, and we're helping a lot of people. What's fun about this is that I can contribute to people more than myself, and which gives me a sense of fulfillment. Fantastic. This is fun. What else is fun is that I made a new friend. This is fun right now. If I begin to turn my focus onto what's fun about this right now and fix my physiology, what's going to happen is I can stay within the period of the next 10 minutes. You need to live your life 10 minutes at a time rather than thinking what's going to happen later on in the day, catastrophic thinking in the week, going back in time. I used to be so good in the past, all that stuff. You got to live your life 10 minutes at a time. Fix your physiology and ask yourself the question of what's fun about this. Create something out of nothing. Because when you can do that, you can alter the types of thoughts that you have. You can modify things. You can modify your environment. You can modify your thoughts. You can modify a person. You can modify your memories. So those are a couple of things that I would suggest the ball rolling in the right direction, buddy.
That is absolutely great. Lots of great stuff. And I love that you mentioned physiology, because I had a previous guest who was talking about confidence, and he had me going through exercises that he does with people that he coaches to show just how much, demonstrating how it affects you. And it is incredible to me. The first time he did that to me was that, wow, I'm seeing proof that my posture affects everything about me.
Everything.
And,
but we don't learn about it.
Exactly.
We don't learn about it.
Especially we're sitting in, lots of, teenagers follow me, sitting in desks all day at school, and just it's pretty bad. I'm reading a lot about that. Not to get into a rabbit hole here, but there's been efforts into changing that because people have realized it's not good for these kids growing up in desks. Thank you so much, Dennis. You have imparted a lot of wisdom. I've been blown away. I'm going to re-listen to this over and again to find every single nugget that I can and use it to help others. I wanted to close with this quote on your Instagram. I loved it, and it was very simple. It said, "Nothing valuable comes fast." A lesson to all of us that it just takes time. Sometimes things don't happen as fast as we want it to, and that's okay. It can take time. We can progress at a slower rate than we want to because we're making progress.
So true.
Dennis, wonderful talking to you. How can people find out more about you, listen to your podcast? Where can they find you?
You can go to anxietyexit.com. And I do have a program, so they can pick up that program if they'd like. As well, the Anxiety Guy podcast is on iTunes, and you can go there and just in the health section, and you'll find it there. It's usually in the top 10. So other than that, you know what? Go to anxietyexit.com. Shoot me a question if you guys have any questions. But it's been a total pleasure to be a part of this podcast, man. And you're going in the right direction. I love how you're inspiring people and helping people. So more the better.
Oh, thank you so much. Great talking to you. All the links and everything will be in the show notes at psych101podcast.com. You can find everything about Dennis there, his website, bio, everything about him. Shoot him a question if you have questions. He obviously has a lot of wisdom. So thank you, Dennis. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And you've been listening to the Psych 101 podcast with me, your host, Luke Maxwell, and my guest, Dennis, aka the Anxiety Guy. Been a pleasure. And as always, be unashamed and stay unashamed.